We are gonna talk about Rogue One in this Why? Why are you sad that we're talking about Rogue One? What's up, pups? How you guys doing? I'm doing great, thanks for asking. Today we're gonna discuss Rogue One. Now I have a lot of things to say about this movie. Luna. I have a lot of things to say about this movie, so I'm gonna try to keep this video as concise and short as I can because I have a lot of feelings. Okay, alright, well, hi. Alright, Luna, you want to talk about Rogue One with me? Let's talk about Rogue One. So, first of all, I loved Rogue One. I would give that movie... rude. I would give that movie an A. Definitely just a fantastic film. The way that they presented it, it is so different than any other Star Wars film that I've ever seen. If you're very familiar with the franchise, you know going into this movie that it's not going to be a happy-go-lucky Star Wars movie. Yet they made sure to make it enjoyable and funny and slightly comedic while keeping it dark and kind of downtrodden. It is not a, it's not a happy movie. It does not have, I mean, it has a good ending, but it also doesn't have it. I don't know how to explain it. If you've seen it, you understand. So before I even get into any of this, I do want to preface that there are spoilers in this review. I'm not only going to be talking about my initial reactions and my favorite parts, but I'm also going to be discussing some Easter eggs that I really enjoyed seeing. So just know that going into this, I am not going to be blamed for ruining this movie because you've been warned. There are spoilers. Spoilers everywhere. Beware. I think my favorite thing about this film specifically was the perspective. We got to see things that we've seen in every movie thus far that are familiar to us in a different light. And that's what I think I loved the most about this movie. There's one specific scene where an X-Wing is coming out of hyperspace and we are basically sitting in the cockpit, or where the droid would go on the X-Wing. And when it comes out of hyperspace, it's immediately thrown into battle and we just see all of the chaos around us. And we're sitting in this X-Wing flying. It's so incredible because in every scene that we've had with an X-Wing before, we've never experienced it like that. And it was just so mind-boggling to think wow, I've never really thought about what it would look like from this perspective, even though I'm so familiar with X-Wings and I've seen them in everything, every Star Wars film. And then twice in the film, we get to experience what it's like being on a planet that's attacked by the Death Star. That's insane. So I think that the perspective by far is what made this movie so enjoyable, that I was able to experience things that I am so familiar with in a different light. All in all, I loved the movie. I thought it was so good. The only thing that gave me a weird reaction, really? That's where we're gonna go? Was when Vader said, "Don't choke on your aspirations," while force choking someone. That was a little bit alright. I get that there's always been corny lines in Star Wars, but that's really corny. But anyway, moving on to my favorite Easter eggs from the film. Now this movie was loaded to the brim with Easter eggs, you guys. And I was sitting there watching and I would see something familiar and I'd just be like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, is this really happening? Did they it was just really exciting, and it made the movie that much more enjoyable because then after I saw 2 or 3 of them, I'm looking in the backgrounds trying to find different Easter eggs. So I wrote down some of my favorite ones. I did do a little bit of research on it as well because I wanted to confirm if some of the things that I thought were Easter eggs were real, and I also came across a few Easter eggs that I remember hearing but I didn't realize how much further in depth they were. So I have a little bit of further delving into the Easter eggs information to share with you guys. So yeah, also sorry about Luna and her toy. I have a bad feeling about this. That line has been said in every single Star Wars film. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan says it to Qui-Gon at the beginning of the film. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, Anakin says it while in the arena. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan says it to Anakin. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, Han Solo says it when they're in the trash compactor. Luke says it as the Millennium Falcon approaches the Death Star. Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, Leia says it while they're inside the belly of the slug. Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, C-3PO says it to R2 when they're entering Jabba the Hutt's lair, and Han Solo says it when the Ewoks start to do their little roasting ceremony. And then in The Force Awakens, Han Solo says it when Rey sets all of those Ranthar creatures loose in his ship. In Rogue One, K2SO says it when they're infiltrating the base. Pretty cool. it's a trap. Saw Gerrera says this infamous line in Rogue One, which is also like the super famous line that Admiral Akbar says. Vader's castle. Now this was something I noticed immediately. When we start panning in Rogue One, we see a scene of like the lava-filled land with like the castle. That's Vader's castle that George Lucas originally had an idea for within Empire Strikes Back. And obviously this is also where Anakin Skywalker lost his limbs and ultimately became Vader. We see Coruscant. There's a flashback that Jyn has as a small child, and when her parents are like discussing things with like another Empire dude, they're on Coruscant. You can see the city right outside the window. And then obviously for cameos, we have C-3PO and R2-D2. And then of course we have Mon Mothma, which we all knew about from the previews. In Saw Gerrera's hideout, we see like a little hologram of like a Twi'lek slave dancer, which I thought was really fun. Obviously at the end of the movie, we get the super not great CGI'd Princess Leia, Bail Organa, whom if you don't know is Leia's adopted father, Ponda Baba and Cornelius Evazan, you know, the guy with like, it looks like a giant fly, like he looks like a human fly with like a thing on his mouth, and then the guy with like his face is like all discombobulated and his eye looks funny and stuff. And they have like a death sentence and 12 systems. I just think it's ironic that they put them in a scene where literally the Death Star destroyed that planet, and for some reason they were able to get off of it. And we know this because we see them in A New Hope. So you're wanted with a death sentence and you just escaped death. What? We see Red 5. Cater Pedron Gall was the original Red 5, who obviously we see pass away in this battle for the Death Star plans, which leaves the spot open for Luke to fill the Red 5 squat later. Captain Antilles. This is like really in-depth and super cool, so I want to read to you what I found online because I know that I won't be able to explain it the way that I want to explain it. I'm gonna read you a little snippet that I found online that basically explains Captain Antilles in Rogue One. Mon Mothma consults with Bail Organa, who says he'll get someone, Leia Organa, he trusts with his life to get the Death Star plans to the Jedi that he knows, aka Obi-Wan Kenobi. Bail walks out of the doorway and starts talking to Captain Antilles, telling him to get ready. We see Antilles again at the end of Rogue One giving the Death Star plans to Princess Leia. Antilles is probably best known to the Star Wars fans as Darth Vader's first on-screen kill in A New Hope. The captain of Tantive 4 gets strangled by Darth when he refuses to give up the plans to the Death Star, claiming his ship hasn't intercepted any transmissions. We also see the character at the end of Revenge of the Sith, where he takes ownership of C-3PO and R2-D2. This explains why R2-D2 and C-3PO are at the Yavin 4 base and connects Antilles to the plan to transport the plans to Obi-Wan. See how I could not have explained that if I didn't like have it written out? So basically it's like super intricate, and like I just think it's so like, I love how they're tying everything together. It just makes it so much more like fluid to me. So I don't know if you guys caught this in the beginning of the film, but Rogue One features blue milk. So inside of Galen Erso's home in the beginning of the film, we see a giant jug of blue milk. That milk was first featured in Star Wars A New Hope when Luke is drinking it with his uncle and aunt. Ugh, you guys, my camera just died, so I'm gonna finish filming on my handheld, so I apologize if this is like different and stuff. But anyway, so basically what I was saying is that it's possible that the Erso family has a bantha, so that's how they get their milk. So in regards to Saw Gerrera, many of you guys may or may not know that his character was first featured in Star Wars The Clone Wars. His character in the cartoon was a rebel extremist who had about 4 or 5 episodes within the Clone Wars. So I thought it was really fun that they adapted a character from a cartoon in the Star Wars universe into an actual character on screen. Most of you guys may not know that this movie was based off of the opening crawl sequence for A New Hope, because it discusses how there is a first great victory against the Empire and the rebels who sacrificed themselves to gain the Death Star plans. So going into this movie, I knew that everyone was gonna die. But I think a lot of people didn't really anticipate that, and it was basically laid all out for us in the opening crawl of A New Hope. May the force of others be with you. The force of others is actually a callback to George Lucas's original drafts for Star Wars A New Hope. The original expression of good luck recognized a larger, broader term in regards to the force that connected all living things together. And then later they expanded on how the force is a thing that actually connects us all and can be manipulated by certain people. Hammerhead Corvettes. So the Hammerhead Corvette is actually from Star Wars Rebels, and there is a scene where one of the admirals says that we need to start ramming the Star Destroyer with a Hammerhead Corvette. So it was really fun, again, to see something from like not like mainstream Star Wars universe being featured in Rogue One. They really tied things together, not only from the original 4, 5, and 6, but also 1, 2, and 3, Star Wars Clone Wars, and Star Wars Rebels. Now this was really fun when I found this out. I didn't didn't notice, and then I came across this Easter egg online, and I just have to mention it. Red and Gold Leader. So Red Leader and Gold Leader appear in the final X-Wing battle above Scarif. They actually used unused footage from the original Star Wars A New Hope to put into this film. So they basically corrected it, made it look brand new, and they used footage from the 70s. That is so cool. Anyway, guys, what did you think of Star Wars Rogue One? Please leave a comment down below and let me know. I love this movie. If you have not seen it yet, I don't know why you sat through all of these spoilers, but you should definitely go see it. And if you have seen it, you guys know that this film is definitely worth seeing, and I am so glad that it exists. I feel like it's one of those movies that I didn't need it because I could have been fine with just like knowing that this is what happened, but like now that I have it, it's everything that I knew I never needed. Anyway, you guys, if this is the first video that you're seeing of mine, hi, I'm Kayleigh. You should subscribe by hitting that red button right down below and we can become best friends forever. Make sure to ring my bell and turn on those notifications. Links to my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are also down below. I'll see you guys in a few days with another video. Bye, everyone.